this leg forward here. And this back foot is this one right here. He's pushing off. So he's bunching up his body here, scrunching up as he's moving forward. I'm just going to do it in place, you know, like we're imagining that the background's panning along. So this is all kind of happening within the center of the camera lens here, which makes it tougher for me. But hey, I'm not going to have him go off the paper, so I have to keep it under control. Okay, he scrunches up. He does a skip, so he goes forward a little bit with this foot now. He's coming down with it and lands. This arm goes out. This one leg goes back again. Okay, and then he just looking at the relation of thumbnails here to see what the shoulders are doing. He goes up, skips. He's down on this leg now. And he's really bringing this other leg around before he goes into this big reach here. See how this leg's traveling from the back, it goes up and over, and then really like it hyperflexes out like that. So that's what I'm trying to get to next drawing. I'm thinking ahead, thinking about where it's coming from, where it's going to. Goes up, comes down, goes up a little bit, raises up his upper body to make room for this leg to travel. So he's coming up just a little bit here. Now he's still straight. The arm over here is kind of relaxed. This one's still back. It's more straight down now. That. Now his head comes down. He's flipping this leg forward. And this one's traveling back. Like that. And his arms come down in a relaxed position. The other arm's just kind of in the back over here somewhere, hidden by the rest of his body. Okay, so now we go to this pose over here. And you notice I'm keeping them as loose as possible because I'm going to go over it again with a different pencil. This is just to give me a nice lay-in, so I'm kind of trying to push the thumbnails at this stage, but I'm not locked in yet. I'm still keeping it real loose so I can play around with it. Because the ultimate test is to flip it here and see if it really works. That's where I have to make the final adjustments. Okay, flips that leg out. Plants that foot. Bends at the knee, which means the pelvis comes down a little bit, and this leg back here starts to give like that. So you can see the pelvis goes down, this bends, that bends. There's a momentum forward still. He's starting to straighten up a little bit. He's leaning forward more over here. Now he's starting to straighten up. What he's doing is he's getting ready for that flip around again, where he brings his right leg back around. Okay, so let's see. He's letting this arm travels out forward some more. And this one's coming from behind, starting to fan out back this way. Okay, and we go to the next one. This is where he's getting ready to do that switch with the leg, which is really cool. So he has to kind of straighten up this leg. pushes him up. Raises that arm. Now he's twisting this right leg back around like this to reach. Like that. Swings that around. And then hits the, kind of slows into that real extreme right there. And this leg goes from being slightly bent to being really straight, which means he's putting a little bit of weight down on here, and that pushes that pelvis up. And let that leg really, there's a big sweep right over here. Got that opposing angle between the hips and the shoulders. Drops down a little bit, the head comes down. This arm's in the back, this gets pushed even further. Like that. And this relaxed arm now starts to kind of straighten out here. As this body's getting torqued around, this gets pulled, so it's making it straighten out a little bit. Alright, so there we have it. Now let's see how it looks. Just as a rough flip. It kind of goes into like a settle there. Keep your hand there. Skip, up, does a little skip step. Then he steps forward, lets that leg flex, then anticipates down, hops up and lets that right leg flip around. So that's the movement. Now, because this is such a mess, you know, scribble-wise, I have to go back in and use a darker pencil and try to wrangle all this. I'm still looking at my thumbnails for reference, so I'm going to keep those handy. Make sure I get the right leg. Yes, okay. So I'm just giving it a little bit of thickness here as well. I can see which one's in the back and which one's in the front. Like that. And again, you know, I've done one stage where I captured these thumbnails off the live action. I tried to push this more than the live action. Then when I went with the lighter color, I tried to push those further than the thumbnails. And now that I'm putting in this darker color over the top, I'm still going to try and push it as much as I can as I see fit, you know, and how they relate to each other on the pegs here. So that's something I'm gonna, and I keep looking, I'm glancing back and forth constantly at the thumbnails to see if there's anything that I can glean from that movement and translate over to here. Sharpen the pencil. By the way, I'm flying without a net here because this is not an erasable pencil, I don't believe. This is like a Prismacolor where you lay it down, that's what you get. No erasing. Alright, there's the skip. Now he's planted his foot rock solid on the ground, and this leg's starting to transition over. You got a nice tilt and angle in the body here, which is pretty cool. And we got the shoulders going up. You killed my brother, you dirty rat. You gotta get in the character, you know how it is.
Very, very happy for someone who just like, oh, you killed my brother. Let's dance.
Yeah. You filthy rat, killed my brother. Now I'm gonna do a little song and dance number for you.
Like West Side Story style.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Da, da, da. And the thing that makes this really come alive, of course, is the breakdowns and in-betweens that you fill in, you know, to hook up all these drawings. That's when it gets all fluid and looks really cool and everything. But this is just the blocking in of trying to capture what's going on in this. Especially between here and here, that rear leg you'll see will have to travel back over to this area. And it just flushes out the movement, it looks better. If you want, I can attempt to go back in and throw some, you know, at least one drawing in between all these to give you a sense better of the movement, so when I flip it, it'll look better.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. See, I'm raising this arm a little bit. Same thing with that one.
And so is that the drawing that he plants that foot?
Yeah, this is the heel contact here, where he flips that leg out and hyperextends and gets the heel into position, and then he travels back. So the heel's definitely, he's got all his weight on there now for sure, and the weight's coming off of here. You know, this is like the tiptoe back there. It's traveled across on the ground back here, and it's lifting up, peeling off the ground, and then it's relaxed again as his body comes down and puts its weight on this one. All right, now he's going to do this spin around thing, which is cool. This little hop. Might want to move it to the right a little bit, because it seems like he's traveling this way. A little foreshortening back there. I'm going to put a little bend in the knee here. I feel like that guy who does the paintings on KCET goes, first we put a little bit of magic light in here, and then there's a happy little tree. You know that guy? So I thought I'd put a little bend in the knee here.
Happy little bend.
A happy little bend, yes. As opposed to a rigid, straight leg. Oh my God. All right. And then the final. Alright, now I'm going to throw in some drawings in between these. This is where you'll see more of that movement start to flesh out. You guys can see this okay?
Yeah.
Alright, cool. Cool. I know that this is one of the most boring things you could ever watch a human being do is animate live because it's like watching paint dry, really.
I love it.
Oh, that's a trooper right there, whoever said that. Okay, so you guys see what I'm doing here? I'm letting him plant his foot down, and this foot's peeling off the back, right, off the ground. And he's anticipating to go into that. See how that's working? I don't know what the refresh rate is on the speed of the flipping here, but I hope you can see that pretty well.
It's pretty cool.
So I'm taking a lot of liberties here with these breakdowns. That's what you're supposed to do. There's the beginning and start pose. There's the end pose up there. Seems like it goes down and whips back up, so he's probably going to be out here somewhere. That's my guess. Even though I've done like this is the third or fourth pass through all this stuff, I'm still kind of trying to feel things out, and there's all the freedom to modify and change and rearrange things as you go. Like I'll shoot a test of this and I'll go, oh, that sucks, I want to do this instead, you know. Like here I'm finishing a move on this, letting this arm kind of continue up a little bit before it comes back down. Maybe start to get a little hint of that shoulder coming up. And this arm I don't really know what to do with yet, so I'm gonna just kind of throw it down here. Let it fall. Because his body's falling and it just makes sense that it would do something like that. Okay, so there's that breakdown. Real loose. Keep that life in it. Now, since he's kind of gone up into a skip before he plants, comes back down again, I'm going to slow in. I'm going to slow out of this because I want him to feel like he's floating in the air more. Because if I come out of that too quick, it's not going to have that neat float, that neat hesitation up in the air before he comes down. So I'm going to favor that top one. Same thing with the shoulders. I'm going to kind of still keep it kind of bunched up a little bit. And that hunch in the back, even though we're starting to lower the body, I'm trying to keep that cool compression in there like he's floating in the air a little bit. So the arm comes back out here. I'm going to let this arm travel forward and then go into the relaxed position. Right there. I'm going to let this foot come back down. Let it reach a little bit like that. I gotta see where this other leg's coming from here real quick. This foreground leg swings forward and then goes back again. So I'm gonna feel like he's pushing this leg down. So I'm gonna let the heel go from here to here, and I'm gonna let it kind of feel like it's pushing or leading, you know, like he's digging his heel down to plant it back here again. So I'm gonna let it kind of lead the way and let the foot drag. And that'll give a nice flexibility to the foot there as it's coming back. And if I push it too much, oh well, you know, I'll just tame it down after I shoot a pencil test of it. And this arm has to come out, so I'll let that emerge. Like that. Okay, there's that breakdown. By the way, some of these drawings may look a little awkward on their own, but as long as they flow and make things flow from one to another, that's all that counts. Even some of the extremes may look a little awkward, but it's all about the flow of the whole thing. It's all about the flow, right, Wayne?
Yes, yes. And they look good. They don't look awkward.
Let's see.
At least not on the monitor.
Good. Alright, so what do we got here? We come down, he's planted the foot, he's at the ground, now he's coming up to take a step where he hyperflexes that foreground leg. so. I'm going to arc this head around into the back. So I'm going to push it out a little bit that way. I don't want it to just go straight back because it'll be a flat movement. You know, it won't look quite right.
Yeah, talk about that a little more, dude.
Yeah?
The idea.
Oh, yeah. I don't want to in between straight or do a breakdown straight from this head to that head. It's going to move laterally, and it's going to kill the flow of the movement and all the arcs and stuff. So I want to try to make this head feel like it's going out, around, and then back into this. Can you see how it would go out and around and then be hidden behind there? That's what I'm trying to get a feel for. So I'm really putting it out forward, and then it comes back, rather than just going straight across. That would just totally kill this movement. It would look really weird on the screen. I'm going to drag this hand a little bit in the arm because he's pulling up with his shoulder. I want this to be ahead of the game, and this kind of falls behind like it's like a loose chain. So this part of the arm here is favoring this. It's dragging while the shoulder's coming up. That's like a force thing, you know, like Paul was talking about earlier about the forces. Okay, let the knee pull up. Here's where the heel is down here. The heel's up there. I'm going to follow that arc, which means the heel will be probably right around there, which means the foot will peel off here. And it's okay if you make this a little bit long at this point because that's stretch. You know, even in live action you get a lot of squash and stretch that you may not think is feasible, but if you slow down some slow motion of some boxing matches, you'll see that when a guy gets hit in the face, you're going to see a lot of squash and stretch, like you wouldn't imagine would even be there. I'm going to not do this arm right now because I don't want to lock into that just yet. I don't know. I might slow out of that, but I don't know until later. I want to just leave that open. You've got the option to do that. If something is uncertain, you don't know quite where to put it, leave it off. Do it later. Because once you see everything else moving together, this kind of falls naturally into place. It just has it kind of breathes its own life at that point. It just dictates where you're going to put it. How are we doing on time here?
Good.
Good. Oops. All right, so he's bringing this leg from the back here forward. He's flipping it out, and it's hyperextending. So he's coming down, which means he was really light on his feet. So again, I want to favor this one and arc it out forward and favor this one because I want it to slow out of that floating movement, just like when the bouncing ball floats. You know, you got to slow out of that high part of the arc. Same thing. I'm going to do that with the arm as well. Maybe even bend it a little bit more to let the elbow lead the way. And I'm thinking about this stuff split second as I'm going. You know, just what naturally occurs to me. Here's that one I was talking about before where the leg travels back really far. Now, normally, a lot of beginners, when they see a bent leg like this and then they see it completely straightened like that, they just do it where they lower that knee down to where this knee is down here, right? They just, in between, the angle of that upper leg comes down and then goes into this angle, right? You can see how this is angled up and then it's angled down, the upper leg. Well, that doesn't always work. Again, that's kind of like a straight in between, like what I was talking about with the head before. That kind of kills the movement. So if you allow this leg that's moving forward, if you allow this knee that's being swung up but from the pelvis like a pendulum, like from the hip, this knee is swinging forward, allow it to continue to swing up forward before it goes down into this hyperextended thing. So I'm actually going to, while this body is coming down right here, I'm going to let this leg scrunch up and keep swinging upward. Just a little bit. And what that does is that allows the leg to swing forward, compressed, and then unfold down into this during the in-betweens. So you get a really nice effect. Like it's really, you know, there's real joints in there that are working, and they make sense when they're when the movement is unfolded. You'll see how that'll work when I flip it as well. It'll show up. I'll just leave that rear arm, or that rear arm off still. I can always fill that in later. Okay, next extreme. This is where he's getting ready for that big pivot. All the weight is on that foot. Boom, he's taking a step there. That's where he's letting it go from hyperextended to starting to flex to being flexed here. Starting to torque that body around. Same thing with the arm. I'm going to let the shoulder lead the way here and let the rest of the arm kind of get pulled along by this shoulder movement. This is just getting whipped around like that. See how it's dragging there? It drags a little bit for the turn and then gets caught up. Same thing with the head. I'm going to try and arc it around again instead of going straight back into this. I'm going to try and make it feel like it's whipping around in space. So I'm going to push it out a little bit. Like that. Just to give some dimension. No matter what this arm's doing, I'm imagining it's got to start to be revealed like this according to what's going on here. So now I have an easier time of placing this arm for now. Breaking the joints for the knee. Like that. Sharpens the pencil. Hey Danny, you want to go to Taco Bell after this? It's magic! Okay. Okay, in order to get that rear leg to sweep around like this, he's got to get his pelvis turned first to get in position to whip that leg around. I mean, if you try this move, you can't really lead with your... I mean, you could lead with your heel, but... I don't know. You might break something. And you'll notice this is funny, is this leg that's planted is the foreground leg and the back one's shaded. Now this leg is now the back one shaded and this one's in the foreground because it's getting whipped around. So I've actually switched the shading here just to let you know. And which leg will I shade as it comes across? It's anyone's guess. I don't know.
It's a cheat.
It's a cheat, yeah. All right, I'm thinking more about this pelvis than the legs right now because we're pivoting on this leg into that position. He's straightening the leg up so he's rising up. So that leg is going to be this with a little bit of a bend in it still. The heel's still in the same spot pretty much. Let's be something like that. And now I'm going to imagine this knee coming out and swinging around into this position here. So it's going to have to arc out just a little bit like this. I may push this even further up higher later on after I shoot a test or I flip it and I go, oh, that's too weak. I want to push it out further because I want it to really read very clearly. So we'll see. But I'm just throwing this out as a guess right now. Now this is where I'm going to have to foreshorten this heel. Whips around all the way over to there where that heel is. So I'm probably going to do something like this where that heel comes right about to there. And I want to push it away from this leg to get a little bit of a silhouette read in there. So it's actually a foreshortened leg like this. And I'm going to go ahead and shade that one in just because it's still coming from around the back. See how it's kind of bending and letting the foot lead the way? It's coming toward us here. Again, which might be a cheat, but hey, that's what this whole thing is about. It's all an illusion. Okay, got that. And the final one, where it slows into this real big reach. I want to go back a little bit and see what the movement is that leads up to this final drawing. Alright, goes up and comes down. See what the arms are doing. Got it. Leg is straightened down. Okay, got it. This one's probably going to be the most straight of all the in-betweens in the whole piece of movement here, the whole scene, if you will. It's getting kind of a thick stack on here. Starting that hip pushing out here, and there it is. Okay, now let's see how this baby moves. Got twice as many drawings now, so we'll be able to see much more of a flow going on, right? You can see.
You can actually see that.
Yeah. Now if you throw,
that was really cool.
if you throw in betweens in there with slow-ins and slow-outs, you got yourself a slick little piece there.
That looks really good.
Isn't that cool? There's a lot of dynamic stuff going on, right? He does a little skip.
Cool, man.
Wow, that's amazing.
Nice, huh?
Cool.
All based off the live action from the thumbnails to this. That's it. So that's the process. I know it takes time, but hey, it's worth it. You know, you throw in the in-betweens and it's like, it makes it come
like
alive.
an hour.
Did it really? Did it take an hour?
It was like 35,
I don't
40
know.
minutes.
That's just you did a whole dance step. It didn't take that long.
Yeah, I mean, the secret to that, the speed, is just keep it loose. You saw how, I mean, look at this. You know, I mean, I'm sure, and the thought that was crossing my mind while I was doing this is like, oh my God, this is so loose and rough. But I knew eventually it would get to a point where it's going to start to flow, and you're going to see like a persistence of vision. Your mind is going to start ignoring how loose and scribbly it is, and you're going to see the movement unfold. And you're just like, oh, cool. Now you can visualize it and see what it's going to do. You shoot a test, throw in some in-between.